In the quiet lanes of a small, bustling town, where time seemed to slow down to the gentle cadence of everyday life, two souls were destined to intersect in the most profound way. Anuj and Ruchi, born into families with intertwined histories and shared traditions, found themselves growing up side by side. Their early days were filled with innocent adventures, heartfelt secrets, and the kind of companionship that only childhood can foster. From the moment they first met in the sun-dappled corridors of their local school, there was an unspoken connection, a silent promise of friendship that would eventually blossom into something deeper. Their families, bound by years of familiarity and warmth, often celebrated festivals and small gatherings together. In these communal settings, the seeds of trust and mutual affection were sown, nurtured by laughter, shared meals, and the gentle guidance of elders. As children, Anuj was known for his quiet sensitivity and thoughtful eyes that seemed to see beyond the ordinary. His natural inclination to care and his reflective nature made him the confidant for many, but it was Ruchi who truly understood the subtle layers of his character. Ruchi, on the other hand, shone with a lively spark, a mixture of intelligence, empathy, and an infectious enthusiasm for life. In her presence, every moment felt brighter, and every hardship seemed lighter. Together, they roamed the fields, played in the narrow lanes, and crafted memories that were as timeless as the town's age-old traditions. As the years unfolded, the carefree innocence of childhood gradually gave way to the intricate complexities of adolescence. The duo, once merely companions in play, began to explore the contours of a deeper emotional landscape. School corridors, once the stage for playful banter and laughter, now bore witness to furtive glances and shared confidences that hinted at something more profound, a burgeoning awareness of love. During these formative years, everyday moments were imbued with significance. Anuj would often be found lost in thought, scribbling in his diary the observations of life and the myriad emotions that welled up within him. His quiet introspection was mirrored by Ruchi's candid expressions of joy, sorrow, and everything in between. They began to confide in each other, sharing their dreams, aspirations, and the subtle anxieties of growing up. Late-night conversations under starlit skies became their secret ritual, where the vast expanse of the universe served as a backdrop to their most intimate reflections. One can imagine them sitting on the rooftop of Ruchi's ancestral home, the cool breeze carrying whispered secrets as they talked about everything, from the mysteries of the cosmos to the simple pleasures of a shared afternoon in the park. It was in these moments that the foundation of trust was laid, a trust that would later be tested in unexpected ways. As the transition from adolescence to early adulthood began, the boundaries between friendship and love started to blur. What had once been a comfortable and familiar companionship slowly transformed into a deep, heartfelt connection. Their shared history, built on years of laughter and tears, now served as a bedrock upon which more intimate emotions took root. Anuj, with his gentle spirit, found himself increasingly drawn to Ruchi's unwavering optimism and the subtle strength she exuded. Ruchi, in turn, began to see in Anuj not just a friend, but a partner with whom she could share the complexities of life. Their interactions, once marked solely by the ease of long-term friendship, now carried an undercurrent of desire, a yearning to express emotions that had been quietly growing within them. In moments of quiet solitude, both would catch themselves daydreaming about a future together, a life marked by understanding, support, and a love that transcended the ordinary. The simple act of holding hands or exchanging a lingering look took on a new significance, hinting at the possibility of a deeper union. Yet, amid the warmth and intimacy, there lingered an unspoken caution, a silent awareness that some boundaries were yet to be fully defined. No story of young love is complete without the silent, guiding influence of family. In this narrative, the character of Arya Kapoor, Ruchi's wise and compassionate aunt, emerges as a beacon of understanding and guidance. With decades of experience behind her, Arya had witnessed the spectrum of human relationships and the delicate balance required to nurture them. It was during these moments of familial intimacy that the young pair learned to value the power of dialogue over assumptions. Arya's insights, often shared in quiet conversations over cups of steaming chai, planted the early seeds of awareness, seeds that would later be crucial in navigating the turbulent waters of adult relationships. Arya's influence was not overt or forceful. Rather, It was the kind of subtle mentorship that gently steered the young minds toward a more nuanced understanding of love. Her life stories, tales of passion, loss, and redemption, served as living examples of how relationships could flourish when built on a foundation of mutual respect and communication. For Anuj, her words were sometimes a mirror reflecting the consequences of unbridled impulsivity, while for Ruchi, they offered solace and a roadmap for healing when emotional turmoil struck. The early chapters of Anuj and Ruchi's story were replete with moments of sheer joy and simple pleasures. Whether it was celebrating birthdays, engaging in spirited debates about dreams and desires, or simply sharing a quiet moment in a sunlit garden, every experience was imbued with a sense of togetherness that was both comforting and exhilarating. One memorable afternoon, the duo embarked on an impromptu adventure to a nearby riverbank. The sky was a canvas of soft hues, and the gentle murmur of the flowing water set the stage for introspection. As they sat side by side, the conversation turned to the meaning of happiness. Anuj remarked softly, "Sometimes, I think the smallest moments are the ones that stay with us forever." Ruchi, with her eyes reflecting both mischief and sincerity, replied, "Maybe that's why these simple moments are so precious. They remind us that love is found not in grand gestures, but in the quiet whispers of everyday life." Their shared experiences during such days not only deepened their bond but also laid a foundation of memories that would later become a reference point during times of conflict and reconciliation. Every shared smile, every soft laugh, and every moment of comfortable silence contributed to a mosaic of memories, a mosaic that, for now, promised a future as bright as the midday sun. Yet, even in the midst of this idyllic camaraderie, subtle hints of future challenges began to emerge. As the duo edged closer to the cusp of adulthood, the complexities of personal identity and the pressures of societal expectations started to cast shadows over their sunlit world. The transition from a world of uncomplicated joy to one filled with nuanced emotions was not abrupt. Rather, it was a gradual evolution marked by internal conflicts and unvoiced fears. There were moments when Anuj's introspection would lead him to wonder about the boundaries of affection. In the quiet solitude of his room, he would ask himself, when does a loving gesture cross the line into something more impulsive? And how do I ensure that my feelings are always expressed with the respect they deserve? These internal dilemmas, though largely unspoken, added layers of complexity to his character. For Ruchi, the transition was equally tumultuous, her heart oscillating between the warmth of shared memories and the emerging need for personal space and affirmation. The narrative gently hints at a looming challenge, a moment when the delicate balance between passion and propriety would be disrupted. Even as they reveled in the comfort of their shared past, both Anuj and Ruchi were on a collision course with a decision that would forever alter the dynamics of their relationship. This internal foreshadowing, woven seamlessly into their everyday interactions, set the stage for an event that would become the turning point in their story. As dusk slowly fell on those formative years, the tender hues of twilight seemed to mirror this subtle shift in their relationship. The promise of a new dawn was always tinged with the bittersweet knowledge that growth often comes with its share of heartache. The narrative, while rich in its depiction of youthful exuberance and the beauty of innocent love, began to murmur hints of the complexities that lay ahead. In quiet moments, as the town settled into the calm of the night, Anuj would sometimes lie awake, contemplating the true nature of affection. Was it enough to simply be there for someone, or did love demand a deeper, more conscious acknowledgement of boundaries and respect? Meanwhile, Ruchi, who had always embraced life with an open heart, found herself wrestling with the fear of losing her sense of self amidst the intensity of shared intimacy. Their individual journeys, though parallel for so long, were beginning to show signs of divergence, a subtle prelude to the conflict that was destined to reshape everything they had known. Part 2. The fateful New Year's Eve and the Awakening. On a brisk New Year's Eve, the air was charged with anticipation. The town's streets glittered with festive lights, and families, friends, and young lovers alike gathered to celebrate new beginnings. Among these celebrants were Anuj and Ruchi, two teenagers whose relationship had, until then, been defined by an innocent, unspoken promise of a lifelong bond. Their companionship was the kind that had grown from shared childhood memories, laughter, and dreams of a bright future together. That evening, buoyed by the excitement of the occasion and spurred on by playful dares from their friends, Anuj felt a surge of confidence. Encouraged by the prospect of marking the dawn of a new year with a memorable gesture, he resolved to take their relationship a step further. The party, with its mix of upbeat music and the hum of youthful chatter, provided a backdrop that both celebrated the present and promised the possibility of a transformed future. As the countdown to midnight drew near, the atmosphere became electric with anticipation. Amid the laughter and clinking of glasses, Anuj approached Ruchi with the simple, yet profound, desire for a kiss. A kiss that, in his eyes, symbolized their deep connection and his hope for a new beginning. However, what seemed to be an innocent impulse quickly spiraled into a moment of profound misunderstanding. Ruchi, caught off guard by the sudden advance, hesitated. For her, the idea of that kiss carried more weight than a mere gesture of affection. It was a question of personal boundaries and emotional comfort. When Anuj's intent became unmistakably clear, her face transformed from one of surprise to a look of hurt and indignation. In that instant, the celebratory air turned heavy, as the simple act of a kiss became a battleground for consent and mutual understanding. The moment the kiss was forced upon her, without the warmth of mutual agreement, the world around Ruchi seemed to shatter. What had been a night of promises and hopeful beginnings turned into one of disillusionment and emotional pain. Ruchi's reaction was immediate and forceful. Publicly, in the midst of a crowd that had been reveling in joy, she responded with a slap, a visceral rejection not only of the kiss but of the presumption behind it. For Ruchi, the incident was more than a physical moment. It was the rupture of trust, the betrayal of a promise built over years. The public nature of the confrontation left her feeling exposed and humiliated, as if the intimate sanctity of her personal boundaries had been trampled upon for the amusement or obliviousness of others. In the aftermath, as the echoes of the confrontation faded into a charged silence, Anuj was left grappling with a torrent of emotions. The initial surge of confidence was replaced by confusion and a dawning realization of the gravity of his actions. How could something as seemingly trivial as a kiss become a source of such pain? The questions whirled in his mind, each one a painful reminder that his intentions had been misguided. Shame and regret began to seep into his thoughts. In the quiet moments that followed the chaotic party, as the noise of celebration receded into a haunting backdrop, Anuj was forced to confront a truth he had long ignored: the importance of consent and the profound impact of even the smallest missteps in a relationship. His heart, which had once soared with the simple hope of deepening a bond, now sank under the weight of misunderstanding and remorse. Unable to bear the immediate consequences of his actions, Anuj sought solace and understanding. In the blurred aftermath of the night's tumult, he found himself wandering away from the crowd, his mind a storm of regret and questions. It was during this aimless journey that fate intervened. A quiet, guiding presence emerged in the form of Arya, Ruchi's wise and empathetic aunt. Arya, known for her strength and calm wisdom, had been a silent pillar in Ruchi's life long before this incident. With a demeanor that exuded both authority and kindness, she sensed the emotional disarray in Anuj. Their paths converged in a quiet corner away from the lingering chaos of the party, where Arya offered him a listening ear and, more importantly, the compassion that he desperately needed. In that intimate conversation, Arya's voice became the steady rhythm against the discord of Anuj's inner turmoil. With a calm that belied the intensity of the situation, she began to unravel her own experiences, a tapestry of lessons learned through heartache, missteps, and the slow, painful journey toward understanding the delicate intricacies of relationships. Arya explained that love, in its purest form, is not about impulsive gestures but about the conscious effort to understand, respect, and honor the feelings of another. Her words painted a vivid picture of the importance of consent, not as a hindrance to romance, but as a cornerstone of any relationship built on trust and mutual respect. She recounted moments from her past, times when a lack of understanding or the pressure of societal expectations had led to moments of regret, teaching her the vital lesson that a simple kiss must always be a shared, heartfelt decision. Under Arya's gentle mentorship, Anuj began to see his actions in a new light. The conversation, though painful, was a mirror reflecting his own naivety, a reflection that forced him to recognize the chasm between intent and impact. Every word from Arya was like a balm, slowly soothing the raw edges of his regret and igniting in him a desire to learn and grow. He realized that his misunderstanding was not born out of malice but from a lack of understanding about the emotional landscape that defined Ruchi's inner world. Arya's guidance opened his eyes to the subtle cues and silent boundaries that are vital in nurturing any relationship. The dialogue was intense and introspective. Anuja's questions met Arya's honest, unvarnished truths. In that exchange, a seed of genuine change was planted, a seed that promised growth, introspection, and the potential for redemption. As the night turned into the early hours of the new day, the repercussions of that singular moment began to echo in both Anuj and Ruchi's lives. For Ruchi, the forced kiss was a betrayal that shook the very foundation of her trust. The incident was not merely about the physical act, but about the assumption that her feelings and boundaries could be overlooked. In the days that followed, she grappled with feelings of vulnerability and a deep-seated need to reestablish her sense of self and control over her emotions. For Anuj, the road to understanding was steep and fraught with self-doubt. The incident forced him to confront aspects of his character he had never truly examined. The impulsiveness that had once seemed charming now revealed its darker side. He was left to reconcile his love for Ruchi with the realization that love must always be coupled with respect, consent, and understanding. In the aftermath of that turbulent night, both protagonists found themselves at a crossroads. For Ruchi, the incident was a painful yet necessary confrontation with her own limits, a boundary that demanded respect and clear communication. Her internal struggle was one of reconciling the love she had for Anuj with the realization that her voice, her no, was not something to be compromised. For Anuj, the encounter with Arya marked the beginning of a profound inner journey. The sting of regret, mingled with the clarity of Arya's lessons, propelled him into a phase of self-reflection. He began to question not only his actions but the broader cultural narratives that had, in subtle ways, shaped his understanding of romance. He embarked on an emotional quest, one that demanded that he unlearn harmful assumptions and relearn the art of empathetic connection. Thus began the intertwined paths of healing and growth for both Anuj and Ruchi. While Ruchi grappled with the emotional fallout of the unwanted kiss, reassessing what trust and intimacy meant to her, Anuj set forth on a journey of transformation. The spark of change had been ignited by the painful events of that New Year's Eve, and in its smoldering embers lay the potential for a renewed, healthier approach to love. Arya's mentorship played a crucial role in this dual journey. She not only offered Anuj the wisdom of her own experiences but also became a bridge between the hurt that had been inflicted and the possibility of reconciliation. With every conversation, every heartfelt reflection, Anuj began to peel away the layers of ego and impulse that had clouded his judgment. In their subsequent interactions, his questions became more profound, and his willingness to listen more earnest. Slowly, he started to understand that a relationship is not a series of moments to be taken for granted, but a continuous process of mutual respect, learning, and evolving together. As dawn broke on the day following the incident, the quiet stillness of early morning held the promise of new beginnings. The night's painful lessons lingered, but so did the possibility of redemption. In the gentle light of day, Anuj resolved to change, not just for the sake of winning back Ruchi's trust, but as a commitment to becoming a better, more understanding person. He knew that the path ahead would be neither simple nor swift. Healing would require time, introspection, and sincere efforts to rebuild what had been damaged. Yet, with Arya's guidance and the painful clarity brought by that fateful New Year's Eve, a new chapter was quietly, yet irrevocably, beginning. In the days and weeks that followed, the once bright and uncomplicated world of Anuj and Ruchi became a canvas painted with the hues of introspection, regret, and cautious hope. Their interactions, once marked by the easy familiarity of long-standing friendship, were now charged with unspoken questions and tentative attempts at reconciliation. Ruchi's silence spoke volumes. Each quiet moment was a reminder of the boundaries she had so adamantly set, a testament to the significance of her emotional world. And for Anuj, every moment spent reflecting on that fateful kiss, every word of advice from Arya, was a step toward understanding the profound nature of consent and respect. The incident had shattered their world, but in its fragments lay the seeds of a future where love could be nurtured with empathy, communication, and mutual understanding. Part 3: The Path of Transformation and Renewal. In the quiet days that followed the fateful New Year's Eve, The shock of that single, unconsented kiss began to echo in the lives of both Anuj and Ruchi. For Anuj, every moment was a reminder of the rift he had created, a gap that seemed to widen with every passing day. The intensity of his regret compelled him to dive deep into introspection. In these moments of solitude, Anuj began questioning not only his own actions but also the broader social narratives he had unknowingly embraced. He realized that the simplistic notion of love he once held, where a kiss could serve as the catalyst for closeness, was, in fact, fraught with layers of emotion, personal boundaries, and mutual respect. His internal journey was a slow and painful process of unlearning ingrained behaviors and relearning the language of empathy. Ruchi, on her side, grappled with the emotional turbulence that followed the incident. The unwanted kiss wasn't just a physical act, it was an affront to her very sense of self and personal dignity. In the immediate aftermath, she retreated into herself, questioning her worth and reasserting the boundaries that defined her inner world. The hurt was profound, yet it also ignited a fire of self-respect and the determination to never let her voice be diminished again. In the days that followed, Ruchi dedicated herself to rediscovering her own strength. She revisited the cherished memories of a time when love was gentle and trust was the unspoken bond that held every promise intact. Slowly, she began to channel her pain into a resolve to articulate her needs clearly, ensuring that her future relationships would always honor her autonomy and emotional space. Throughout this transformation, Arya's presence remained a constant source of guidance. With the calm assurance of someone who had weathered many storms, she continued to mentor Anuj, gently correcting his misconceptions about love and consent. Arya's life stories of missed opportunities, heartfelt reconciliations, and hard-earned lessons served as both a warning and a roadmap. In her interactions with Ruchi, too, Arya emerged not merely as an advisor but as a compassionate bridge between the hurt of the past and the hope of healing. She encouraged Ruchi to see the incident not as a reflection of her value but as a moment that underscored the need for mutual respect in every relationship. As weeks turned into months, the lives of Anuj and Ruchi, though still separated by the memory of that painful night, began to show signs of subtle change. Anuj, having undergone a profound inner transformation, started reaching out, not with grand gestures or empty promises, but with small, respectful acts that spoke of genuine remorse and the desire to learn. Ruchi, initially guarded, found herself touched by these sincere expressions. While the wounds were still fresh, she recognized in Anuj a willingness to change, a commitment to understanding that love must be nurtured through open communication and unwavering respect. Their tentative conversations, held in the quiet corners of familiar places, began to serve as the first stitches in a slowly healing fabric of trust. Rebuilding trust, however, was neither linear nor instantaneous. Both Anuj and Ruchi had to confront the painful legacy of that single, unconsented kiss, a symbol of youthful impulsivity turned into emotional betrayal. Together, with Arya's continued guidance, they embarked on a journey of frank dialogue. These discussions were raw and unvarnished, delving into the complexities of emotions, the cultural expectations that often blurred the lines of consent, and the mutual responsibility required to maintain a healthy relationship. For Anuj, this meant acknowledging that his understanding of love needed to be recalibrated. He began to view consent not as an obstacle to romance but as its very foundation, a non-negotiable element that ensured both partners felt valued and secure. For Ruchi, the process was about reclaiming her narrative and reinforcing the boundaries that made her feel whole. Each conversation, however difficult, was a step toward mutual healing, a slow rebuilding of a connection that had been shattered by a moment of thoughtlessness. As time passed, the dialogues between Anuj and Ruchi evolved from cautious exchanges to more open and heartfelt discussions. They began to share not only their fears and regrets but also their dreams and the hopes they still harbored for a future together. In these moments, the true power of honest communication revealed itself. What started as a process of cautious negotiation soon blossomed into a renewed understanding of what it meant to be partners. Where both voices were heard, where consent was continuously reaffirmed, and where every shared moment was built on a foundation of respect. In their evolving relationship, small acts began to accumulate into larger gestures of understanding. Anuj started to actively involve Ruchi in every decision, seeking her input in a way that was both humble and heartfelt. Ruchi, seeing his genuine efforts in the transformation of his perspective, began to open up about her own vulnerabilities and aspirations. Their renewed connection, though still fragile, was now imbued with a cautious optimism, a promise that the past need not dictate the future. The journey of transformation was not confined solely to the two protagonists. It began to ripple outward, influencing their interactions with family and friends. The story of Anuja's and Ruchi's struggle, and their eventual path toward reconciliation, became a quiet testament to the power of change. It was a narrative that challenged outdated notions of romance, one that underscored the importance of asking, listening, and validating the feelings of one's partner. In community gatherings, conversations about relationships took on a new tone. Young people, inspired by the unfolding transformation of the central characters, began to engage in discussions about consent and mutual respect with greater sincerity. In classrooms, in coffee shops, and in quiet corners of their social circles, the lessons from that single, fateful night reverberated as a reminder that love, in all its beauty, must always be tempered by empathy and understanding. The final stretch of their journey was marked by the slow but steady renewal of trust. As each day passed, the weight of the past was gradually replaced by a cautious hope. A hope that acknowledged the scars while also celebrating the resilience required to mend them. Ruchi, who had once felt deeply wounded, found strength in her ability to set boundaries and articulate her needs. Together, they began to envision a future that was defined by clarity, respect, and mutual support. Their love, once marred by a moment of recklessness, was now being rewritten. It was a love that understood that every gesture mattered, that every yes and every no was a vital part of an ongoing dialogue about respect. In the soft glow of a new dawn, the once turbulent relationship of Anuj and Ruchi began to resemble a carefully tended garden, each step forward marked by cautious pruning of old habits and the nurturing of new, healthier patterns. The promise of tomorrow was reimagined as a collaborative venture, a space where both individuals contributed equally to the growth and flourishing of their shared bond. Arya's role continued to be vital in this process. She remained a mentor, not only to Anuj but to both, guiding them with the steady hand of someone who had traversed similar paths before. Her gentle reminders and thoughtful insights became the quiet pillars that supported their renewed aspirations for love. A love that was not taken for granted but was continually reaffirmed through every act of consideration and every sincere conversation. Ultimately, the journey of Anuj and Ruchi is a testament to the enduring power of consent, empathy, and honest communication. It is a story that transcends the simplistic boundaries of youthful romance, emerging instead as a layered exploration of what it truly means to love and be loved. The painful misstep on that New Year's Eve, while initially shattering, became the catalyst for a profound transformation, one that illuminated the necessity of listening, learning, and respecting the inner world of another person. Their story, in its entirety, serves as a reminder that love is a continuous process of negotiation, a delicate balance between giving and receiving, between asserting one's boundaries and embracing the vulnerabilities of another. It is a narrative that challenges each reader to re-examine their own definitions of intimacy, to recognize that every moment of connection carries with it a responsibility to honor the person on the other side. As the narrative of their lives gradually moved toward a new chapter, both Anuj and Ruchi embraced the reality that reconciliation was not about erasing the past but about building a future on the solid foundation of mutual respect. Each day, with its small victories and quiet affirmations, contributed to a larger mosaic of healing, a mosaic in which every shard of pain was transformed into a stepping stone toward a more compassionate way of being. Their journey was far from over. There remained challenges yet to be faced and lessons yet to be learned. But as the final notes of the old year faded into memory, they both understood that every new beginning was an opportunity to reimagine love. A love that would forever be defined by the courage to ask, the strength to listen, and the humility to grow.